It's been a bit of a manic morning today, so apologies about that. Hopefully, we are live on YouTube and Instagram right now. I'm just waiting for the thing to do its thing.
I'm just waiting.
But I should be. And I didn't even get the email out to tell everyone about it today because I've lost my admin assistant.
Yeah, for day one.
Day one, I know, it's all ending. But anyway, we're here. That's the most important thing.
We're a little bit stressed, but we're here.
Stressed, burnt out, tired, need wine, send help.
SOS.
And funnily enough, we're talking about an interesting topic today, which is taking on your first associate, should I say, as a VA. And this is something that, I think it's a really good topic to talk about because you always hear from the side of associates that are looking for work and can't get work, but not from the VAs that actually are taking on associates and how difficult that is for them. So we've got loads of experience with this, haven't we, Kirsty?
Yes, we have. Let's share. You go first.
It's not all doom and gloom, honestly. But you might have to
feels
wade
like
through.
that sometimes, though, doesn't it? Sometimes you just think,
You might have to wade through some shit to get the good ones. That's the truth. Right. So yeah. Obviously, when I started my VA business back in 2021, it was always with the intention of taking on a team. I always wanted it to be that it was an agency. And the first thing I did, I took on 2 associate VAs. And I was really lucky because they were really, really good. They were really lovely. They just decided that, they didn't stay for too long because in the end, they wanted to go and concentrate on their own businesses. And I think that's the thing. You have to remember and respect that when you take on an associate, you are taking on somebody that runs their own business. They're not your employee. And there's some really fine lines there, which I think we can talk about a little bit more today. But it's understanding that they can leave you at any point, and they probably will. They might be cutting their teeth with you, just like I was. I was an associate to begin with, and I cut my teeth with the company I was with, and it was great experience. And I think you have to have that kind of open mind that when you take on associates, they are cutting their teeth with you. A lot of them might not be there for the long haul, and you have to be prepared for that and accept it. But those 2 women were great. I was lucky. I didn't end up in a difficult situation. That came after. and then I was trying to find some replacements, and then thinking, well, actually I need my own assistant as well. And I just kept getting harassed by this girl called Kirsty who wouldn't leave me alone. And then eventually Kirsty came into the fold too, and that was the best thing I ever did. So I think I had a really lucky start because I ended up with 3 people that were brilliant. The problem is, and that was okay because I was managing everybody and it was manageable. There weren't loads of clients, there weren't loads of associates, so it was fine. I think the problem is when you start to expand and it becomes less easy to manage. And when I was still trying to manage everything, the ball got dropped or mistakes happened. And what fixed that was appointing an account manager, which is now Kirsty. But I just want to talk about the mistakes I made early days. So the things I used to do to take on associates was basically just randomly, because back then I wouldn't take on an associate unless there was work there, which meant a scramble for somebody. Because if a client came in, I would go, yeah, I've got a perfect VA for that, and I didn't have anybody. Right. So I know, yeah, of course, that's what we all do, fake it till we make it. And so I was like, oh my God, I've got to find someone. That is not the way to do it, because then you end up with someone who's desperate and you haven't really vetted. And I made that mistake, but actually I was lucky that the people that did come were okay. But so that was a big mistake. So don't ever do that. I always say it's okay to start vetting early for associates and tell them that at the moment you don't have lots of work coming in, but now that you've vetted them and they're ready, you'll be able to, let them know when work does become available. There's no harm in doing that.
No, there isn't. And I think as well, when you are starting out as an agency, because you didn't have an assistant before me, you do have that person that you could just go to and say, could you do like 5 hours for me a month, just while I'm doing the other part of the business? So you know, we all get bogged down by admin, and I'm the world's worst hypocrite for it, because everybody else's admin that I look after is all in line, and mine's just a pile of shit in the corner. I'll just put a blanket over it and just ignore it. So having that an associate that you vetted and that has quite, you know, maybe not such a broad range of skills to begin with, because that will come in time, but it's just the availability for you to be able to go, oh, could you just do this for me? So that having that support system there early on, I regret not taking on an assistant, and that these days I think I really do need to take somebody on to do stuff that I don't have time to do, and that's something I talk about all the time. Do I ever action it? No. So my best advice to anybody who's looking at building out their agency and bringing on associates is have somebody that you can then not potentially or permanently, but you have somebody there to support you with your admin stuff.
Yeah, definitely, because it does get, you are at that point running a scaling business, and you're not just growing, you're not just plodding along, you're proper scaling at that point. The whole point of taking on associates is that you've either reached capacity, or you want to expand and you want to grow and you want to scale. So it depends on what, you know, the reason you're doing it. But Kirsty's quite right. You definitely at some point take on an assistant, because the problems lie in when you try to do everything yourself. And what I was doing back then, I was asking for a CV, and then I was just kind of going off that CV and saying, oh, hey, this person sounds like they can do everything. I hadn't segmented our packages at that point, so it was just like 5 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours a month, and then based on that, because that's what I was doing, and it wasn't broken down by skill set, I was saying, yeah, this person looks like they'd be good fit because their CV says it was, and then just matching them with the client, rather than there being like me meeting them first, getting to know them a little bit more. That wasn't happening because I was time poor, really. And then what changed for us was we took on an associate that needed to have like tech skills, and she said she could do things she couldn't do, and we lost 2 big clients that cost thousands of pounds. And that was kind of the turning point. So up until that point, we hadn't really had lots of problems with VAs. But that we started to have a trickle then of associates that were saying they could do things they couldn't do. And that was the start of the downward trajectory at that point for us. And what we did was we sat back and said, something's got to change. And what we changed initially was the vetting process. So we stopped asking for CVs. We started instead asking people to fill out a form to share their skill sets. Then they would automatically get a email asking them to send in their VA experience profile. So this is like a document we've already created. They just have to digitally fill it in. We only want to know about their VA experience. We're not bothered about what GCSEs they got. Who cares what school they went to, right? So we got all that information, and then if we liked the sound of that, we would send them a questionnaire to complete. And the questionnaire is designed to trip up people that are going to say they can do things they can't do. If they pass the questionnaire, and very few actually do, they would then get through to a call. And if they present themselves well on the call and everything goes well, we would then approve them as a VA. And that was kind of game changing. But not just that, we at the same time changed the way we sell our packages. So we broke them up into simply admin plus marketing, and admin plus tech. And the reason is we recognized that there are VAs out there that really need the work, but they aren't techie and they don't do marketing, and there should still be a place for them because they are still valuable and people still do need just basic admin. And so we thought that by separating admin out as its own thing, it would mean that VAs would be more comfortable coming to us and telling us that they don't have the other skill sets. And that worked really well, didn't it?
It did. And I think another step we did put into that vetting process, which actually I was thinking last night we should put back in, is we would set them a task depending on their responses to the questionnaire. So, you know, whether it be just simply admin or lead generation or anything like that, or website techie, whatever, we would set them a task to explain to us to either produce a social media post, how they would do it, you know, or some sort of process that would suit their skill set that they've told us that they can do. And that was the real pivotal point, wasn't it? Because there was quite a lot that were like, yeah, I can maintain a website. Yeah, da, da, da. They were like, what would you do if this happened? They were like, never heard back from them. So having that task part in there is like the final part, isn't it, before the call, so we can actually see. Because if you're looking for an employee, you would ask for references or proof of work or something like that, which invariably VAs can't provide because of GDPR and, you know, privacy kind of thing. So it's quite hard to provide that, which is why we introduced the task part.
Yeah, I think you're right. We do need to bring that back in because we are slowly recruiting again at the moment. But Kirsty's right. Yeah, you definitely do need to test the metal and see if VAs can do what they say they can do. The problem is, if you need to have a bank of vetted VAs with a wide varied skill set. You don't need to wait till you have clients. You just need to have that skill set built up. And it's great because if you don't have tech skills, you can take on associates that do and charge more. So it's well worth doing. The main point is just keeping in touch with them and just saying, look, just so you know, I know we haven't matched you with anyone yet, but we are still here. Are you still interested when that work comes in? But it's making sure that you're not asking for things that aren't relevant. So what does a CV matter? Who cares about a CV? It makes no difference. All you need to know about is that VA able to do this job? It is difficult, like Kirsty just said, to ask for references and case studies because you really can't. But what we do is if we have, for example, a VA that says, oh, I'm really good at tech stuff and websites, the first thing I will do is check their website. And if it's got big red flags all over it, they're not going to make it through to me. If they say they're good at social media, I'll check their social media. And if their social media is no good, they're not going to make it through. So because I want the best of the best, really. And some people can be trained. But I suppose if I was to give advice to an associate, I would say, be honest.
Yeah.
Just be honest, you know.
This is one of my bugbearers, and it's something that we've spoken about quite a lot. And I think just purely as an example, I had a call with a VA, this is a long time ago, and bless her, she'd built her own website, which was fine. Well, she'd had it built, but she'd put on there that she could do website building, automation, social media. And I said to her, can you just talk me through this part? Like, what's your experience? And she was like, well, I haven't actually done that yet. So you're advertising it's like me going, Kirsty Moore, virtual assistant, account manager, brain surgeon. Well, I haven't actually done that yet, but I'm going to do it in the future. I don't advertise something that you can't do. Equally, if you're speaking to an agency, and this is across the board, I'm not picking anybody or pissing anybody off. If somebody says to you, can you do this? And you can't, don't say you can. Because all you're doing is landing yourself in a whole pile of trouble. You're going to annoy that agency owner and you're going to annoy that agency owner's client. And we have fallen foul to that so many times. So it's so important to have, and that trust element between an agency and associate is immediately broken.
Yeah.
You can never recover back from that because it's the agency owner that then has to deal with that fallout.
Yeah, you're right. The trust thing is done. And actually, you've just made me think, we don't ask. What we should ask is, have you been an associate elsewhere? And if they have, we should ask the other lead VA for a reference. So that's something else I would advise you to do, and we should definitely start doing as well. I mean, and if you are an associate, get testimonials. I've given testimonials for our team. So it is worth doing that as well, especially if you want to stay as an associate. Some associates prefer it because they don't want to do their own marketing and they don't want to go out there trying to get clients, and they prefer it.
I don't. I've been with this agency with you for 4 or 5 years now. I've got one separate client to being an associate, and actually this works for me. Like, I never advertise. I never, like, people come to me and I think, oh, I can't be asked with all that crap. Just can't be bothered. I'm quite happy doing what I'm doing. I love being an associate because it gives me the flexibility to be able to say, actually, no, I don't want to do that or whatever. So I think it is so beneficial. And again, if you are a VA that does have limited skill set to begin with, being with an agency, that agency will train you if you want them to be. And that, because I've learned, I've said it 1,000 times we've been on these podcasts, the stuff I've learned from you is invaluable to me. Like, I would never be where I am without what the time and effort you've put into training me on stuff. Simple things from a LinkedIn article. I didn't even know what that was when I first started as an associate. Now I'm like, la la la. So you can get so many more skills being an associate as well.
Yeah, you can. And it is, like I say, a really good place to get your experience before you go off on your own. I think what the biggest worry for taking on associates is, will they steal your clients? That is the biggest worry.
It is a biggest worry, and this has happened to us, and it was very, very damaging.
Yeah.
In it for various reasons, financially, family member, so the trust was broken, and it caused repercussions for you. It caused an angst within me, you, and that other person, which was really difficult because we've got such a strong bond. You know, I trust you with my life, my kid, everything, right? And that would put a strain on it, didn't it? And that's something that we're going to talk about in terms of working with family members with it as an associate. So there is always that fear, but if you do get a gold one, and you've got a good trust bond, you have. What do? You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You've got to take that leap, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna lie, it probably will happen to every agency. It will happen, whether it has or hasn't. It will happen. It will happen.
Yeah. And sometimes you might not even know it's happened.
No, it was a LinkedIn message because the VA had been discussing hourly rates.
Oh, yeah. So that one, that was horrendous. So how we used to do it was when a client was coming on board, or they were thinking about coming on board, and something else we've changed completely is we used to then set them up on a call with the associate, and they could get to know one another, and then we'd say to the client, okay, have you made your decision? But in some instances, the VA would have multiple calls with the client, and we hadn't approved that at all. So we were like, well, what is going on? Like, it's taking too long. This is going into weeks now. Just make the decision. In this situation, this VA was having multiple calls with this client. And then I've got an email from the client. And when I was saying to her, what is going on? I don't understand. She says, oh, no, it's going to be much better for you. He's going to pay more. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Like, what client is going to pay me more money? Like, why would anybody pay more? Does not make any sense. And I thought, you're doing something here you shouldn't be doing, because why are you discussing money with the client? And then the client sent an email saying that he was, or a LinkedIn message, can't remember which, that he was almost like really disappointed in us that we're not paying this VA enough money, and that we're taking a massive profit, and that we should pay her a fair rate, right? And I'm like, what? So she basically said to the client, look, these guys are only paying me, let's say this was a £45 an hour client and we're paying her 25. They're only paying me this much. But if I was to get the full amount, I could do a much better job for you. And I had to educate this client on, that's not how it works. One, I definitely don't get that full profit that you're talking about. There's a cost to acquire every single client that comes through. I have to do all of the marketing. I'm the one paying for the Google ads. I'm the one paying for the boosted posts, the Facebook ads. I'm the one paying Kirsty to put all of this together. All of that costs money. And that VA that you've been chatting to has done nothing. They haven't had to do anything. They've been given this opportunity, and that's why they get paid less. Exactly. Because they're not having to put all those costs into it. And if they want to go off and do that work and find their own clients, they can carry on. But don't come to me. Don't be an associate. And so I basically, got rid of her immediately, and he didn't sign up. And I'm quite convinced they probably went off together. But that was a big one that stood out, but there were a few others, and there was one where we found out afterwards. This is someone who I kind of introduced to Go High Level, because we are kind of experts. So I'm an expert in Go High Level, and there's a lot of potential there for VAs to get a lot of work on the back of it. She'd never used it before, got her into it, put her onto a forum that you can get a lot of work out of. And we found out that she had approached a client of ours saying, I have got my own business. You can come and work with me direct. And the client told us. I always see her. Well, I don't see her in the forum anymore because I'm not allowed in there. But I was seeing her in there. And I used to think, you're so unethical. You're so unethical what you're doing. And that's totally out of order.
This is the thing. Like, I mean, I guess it depends what kind of person you are. I mean, for me, it's all about the loyalty and the trust. And I think if somebody was to steal a client, it affects me on a personal front, because I feel like at that time, for those two instances, the family member one, and the other big one that happened, I felt that personally because I had put a lot of work in, and I felt, because I was like the person managing those people, and I have a lot of loyalty to anybody I've ever worked with, not just you, more you, because we are who we are and what we've done and what we've created. And I think it amounts to stealing.
Mm.
I don't give a shit if it's a chocolate bar or a client, it's stealing. And if
Yeah.
you have morals that you think is acceptable to steal a client from somebody, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Because you will be known within that VA world as somebody who steals other people's clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have a clause in our agreement with VAs that you can buy out the client from us, but you have to pay 6 months of what that client would have paid us, so we have got time to replace that client. It's not like we don't know this doesn't happen and you can't do that. It's just that you've got to think about karma, what's going to come back to you eventually. You know, you're trying to build your agency. Is that really how you're going to build it? And also, I mean, we've just had a client left us not long ago, and he's approached the associate he was working with on our team, and she's quite rightly come to us and said, look, this client's asked to work with me directly, I just thought I'd let you know. And we can't say no, he's not our client anymore, so we've said, of course, you've got our full approval. So it's going about things the right way.
Yeah, that's
with
it.
with morals, you know, and then you don't know when you're going to get into shit again with work. So it's all right you running off into the distance with your new client that you stole, but one day when that client leaves you for someone else who poached them, you've got no work now and you can't come back to us. Because if I even so much as suspect that you've done it, like, because sometimes we'll get a client leave and then magically the VA leaves right after, and you're like, wonder what's going on there.
It's hard, isn't it? Because it's a hard topic to approach. I mean, I've had to sack VAs and talk to VAs and, you know, and sort of ask uncomfortable questions. But as an account manager, that is my job. That's what I'm there to do. And if there is an uncomfortable conversation to have, then that's the uncomfortable conversation I've got to have. I mean, particularly we had a VA who had told the client to drop their hourly package because they weren't using their time. That's not your responsibility to do that. Even as right, some of my clients at the moment are running out of time at the moment. That's not my job as a VA to say to them, you're running out of time, you need to increase your time. That's you as my account manager, effectively, to approach that client. And that's not something that I wouldn't do. And I think when you're an associate, you have to make sure that you are following the rules. And also to remember, if you do steal a client, potentially that VA or that agency you've stolen from will be in the same groups, same Facebook groups, the same LinkedIn groups. And if we do add in that part when we're vetting about speaking to previous agencies, and we can say, well, actually they stole a client from us, like, don't ever do, like, do you know what I mean? So it's sort of like looking after the people at the top, the agencies at the top. If you have got some little scutter that steals your clients, you don't want them on your team.
No, absolutely no. And it's not, it should never be seen for anyone looking out there to become an associate. Do not see this as a way in to get clients fast and easy. Have respect for your fellow VAs. Remember that agency, that person, like me, I'm an agency. I'm still a bloody VA. I'm still a person who started my own business, small business. I'm still got the same struggles as everyone else. Yeah. It's not fair for you to think you can come along and take a client from me that I've worked so hard for and plowed money into. So just have some, you know, respect. And coming back to the family member, this was the worst thing that's happened to us. If you are thinking about taking on family, just don't. It's not worth it. Like, literally, it becomes so complicated. I took on a family member not as a VA. This was someone that was going to help with the invoicing side of things, just checking on payments and stuff like that. Because the hardest thing for me is I do need more help in my business from a VA, but I have this struggle with putting them into my CRM system because they can see all of my clients. And so I have this real, like, contentious argument going on in my head. But this person, it was okay because they weren't going to be a VA. And then eventually there was opportunities for them to do VA work, and they were interested in it. So I said, I gave them some work. And then because they had the insight into what each VA was being paid, they came to me after 1 month and said, I kind of demand that you increase my pay to match everyone else's, even though they weren't at the same skill level. That was a red flag then, and I knew it, then, and I ignored it. So if you get a gut feeling, you see red flags with an associate, for God's sake, follow it. And if I had, what happened next probably wouldn't have happened. So what happened next was, first of all, they were like, she would say there was some issues with Kirsty, that I'd have to get the three of us on a call to sort, but I'd never had issues with Kirsty before. At one point, she took great pleasure in taking me through loads of errors and mistakes that you might not even know this happened on our invoicing time portal system that apparently Kirsty had made, which, you know, I don't believe was ever a thing. And then because I think there was a lot of jealousy there. So because I've looked back now and I think now that we were about to go to the awards ceremony and Kirsty was coming and she wasn't, because she was just like such a small part of it. I wouldn't have. Kirsty's been with me forever. About this was on a Friday. I'd said to her, you know, you're doing ever so well. You ought to think about starting up your own business, because she had a particular skill set that was very different and could go down her own very unique niche. Now, Kirsty knows me. I fully respect that every person on my team is running their own business, and I would happily help any one of them set up, get more clients, whatever I can. I don't see that as competition, okay? I would have helped her too. I encouraged her, and she said, no, I haven't got any ambition to go out there and get my own clients. By Sunday, I discovered she'd started her own business. I didn't know anything about it. Sorry.
Not only did she start her own business, she had a whole freaking website built from scratch.
Yeah. One moment.
It's going to start my guinea pigs off now, guys. They'll start eating that bloody mouse again.
Oh, I'm just sorry, I haven't seen it. Yeah. Cool. So if you check your email, all the info's on there. Okay. But it went to Julie Nicholson.
If anybody's got any questions or comments, feel free to put it in Instagram or anything else that you are watching us on.
Yeah. So it's gone to your email. So it should be there. Okay. It's 6969 the code if you need it. Right. And then the Wi-Fi. You're down here, so you can say live. Yeah, perfect. That's the Wi-Fi. Lovely. Kitchen to the back. Lovely. Drinks. And I'll chat to you when I come out. Right. Thank you very much. Good morning. It's very friendly. Sorry, everyone. You know, unfortunately.
I've been chatting away. Don't worry.
Have you? Good. And if you've got any questions while you're listening,
I just said that.
Please feel free. Oh, we have got some questions. Ultimately, if a client wants to work with associates specifically, they can walk at any time. In terms of the associate, it does come down to morals and respect. If a client wants to work, well, yeah, of course they can. So a client could say, I'm leaving and want to go and work with that associate. Of course they could do that. We can't stop that happening. But it does come down to that associate to be open and honest with the agency and to say, look, the client's approached me directly. If a client leaves and then wants to go and work directly, you can't stop that happening. But what we're saying is associates shouldn't be encouraging it. So in this case of what happened with the family member, they then started their own business, didn't have the foresight, apparently, to say to me, you know, on second thoughts, I think I am going to do that, which was just so disrespectful. And then was working with a client. So we didn't get rid of her at the point, but I did have to remove her from the CRM because she could see all my clients. It was a conflict of interest. And then was still working with one of our clients. We're having a nightmare today, aren't we? And then never apologized to me, and then a few weeks down the line said, I'm going into a brand partnership with this client, which that actually means I'm just stealing your client. And so that's what happened.
Don't dress it up, love. We all know what it means.
We've never spoken since. It ripped a big massive hole in our family. And so I would just say, I know it can be easy to take on family, but it's probably not a good idea to do that. I want to talk about how we've made it work, because we've really turned things around. Our team now is absolutely like the best team ever, and they've been with us for a long time. And literally the reason that changed is we built in a lot of loyalty into the team. So when people join our agency, they get their own email address. That's part of our brand. They get access to our chat channel for support. They get access to our CRM for their calendars. So all of their client calls are booked through the calendars in our system so we can see what's happening. And they also have a last Friday of the month call with us so we can check in on them. Is there anything you need? Is everything okay? We do little prizes and things like that. We do training. So we've built in a support network for our team, which means that they're less likely to leave or less likely to screw us over because of what we're doing for them and what we're giving back to them. And I think that's really important. If you can value your team and understand that they are running their own businesses and might need your help, and you can give them that support, they're more likely to respect you and stay with you.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think, there are a lot of agencies out there that probably are still doing how we did it, like, here's a client, see you later, invoice us at the end of the month kind of thing. But there isn't just that part of it in terms of supporting them with their business and their skill set, but we do have regular emails that go out to our associates saying, are you taking regular breaks? It's really key not to get burnt out. If you're overwhelmed or struggling, then please come to your, like me, account manager. All of our associates have my WhatsApp, my mobile, anything and everything, whatever is best for them. And I have had associates come to me crying because they've messed up, or they've had and nothing is ever unfixable. Yes, it is unfortunate. We are only human. We all make mistakes. But if you have associates, it is so key to look after them, because, as you say, if you build that strong trust with them and that loyalty, they will equally be loyal to you. So if you're helping them like you did for me, you nurtured me and developed me and taught me and trusted me and all that kind of thing, that is literally, you can't put price on something like that. Do you know what I mean? And if you do find people like that, really look after them, make sure they're okay, check in on them, just send them a message. I do it on a Monday. Hey everyone, anyone need anything? You know where I am if you need me, and all that kind of thing. And that little message on a Monday or Friday to somebody who's either had a crap week or is doing something they really don't like is priceless, because it just goes, someone's there making sure I'm okay.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And having having a Kirsty. So if you can take on associates and then you identify one that would be a really good account manager, like Kirsty's got really empathetic soul and she's just so good with the clients and the VAs. Like I couldn't manage all of the clients and all of the associates. I just couldn't. And so Kirsty does that. And it means that the team's always looked after, the clients are always looked after. That's essential. It's not something you're going to be able to do yourself as the lead VA because you're actively trying to bring in new clients all of the time. So definitely having somebody else that can do all of that for you. We've actually just moved Kirsty fully onto account management support. She was doing my admin and she's not anymore, because I want to make sure that the highest amount of her time goes to looking after the clients and the VAs, because the quality of that counts. And so, and I know Kirsty can do that so well. And that's important because, like you've just said, they might not always be comfortable coming to me as like the boss kind of thing, but with you they will be. We have, but I am very approachable. I made the mistake of not being. At one point I wasn't approachable. I was almost like, hey, I'm the CEO, you have to get through doors to speak to me, which was ridiculous. When I changed that, I think that helped the loyalty as well, because I'm part of the chat channel where, trust me, big things have gone off in there. People have said, oh my God, I've lost the whole website. What do I do? And so there's no judgment. You're not suddenly lost your place as an associate. We all jump in and we all help one another. And that is key, I think.
It is as well. And because I'm not very technical with stuff like that, I think there was one thing, like last week I was doing setting up a, what do you call it? Workflow in MailerLite, which I've never done before. So it was like a complete idiot guide. And I got to one bit and I was like, it was more of a confidence thing as well, I think, like publishing it, make sure it was right. So I just put in the chat, is anybody know anything about this? Like, I don't know what to do about this. Within about 5 minutes, everybody had responded, no, really sorry, don't know. You came back to me straight away. Why? What's wrong? What's happened? So it's so important to have. It's all very well going into these Facebook groups, but there are some bitchy Facebook groups out there with VAs. I'm in one, which I really keep on meaning to leave, because like people post in there and there's nasty comments and, you know, it's pointless. You know, we're all in the same boat. We're all doing the same thing. And because we have got that good team, I know that there is specific team members that I can go to, that I can say, this has happened. I really need you to help me. Can you help me with this client? And they'll go, absolutely, not a problem. And there's no fuss. There's no,
yeah,
all that bullshit. I ain't got time for that, quite frankly. And these people that are on our team are like blooming gold, I tell you.
Yeah, they are. And I think what's created that is a few things. Me being more accessible, them having that chat channel. So because once you've got that, it's like you've got a support mechanism, and who wants to leave a support mechanism behind, right? So they're more likely to stay with us because they know they've got that support all the time. We're very collaborative with one another. We can all, you know, if something isn't working for a client, you can get someone else on the team to jump in and help. So that's something you can do like instantly in real time. What rather than, oh, I've got to go out there now and recruit for another VA. That's more difficult. So I think for that reason, it's created the loyalty side where I feel like I can trust the team. I don't feel like they're going to screw me over or do anything. And they've literally been the longest ones with us, haven't they? I think one of the challenges is the blurred lines between, and you will have definitely experienced this, a VA not realizing that there's still demands on them that wouldn't be if they were working solely for themselves, and they almost start resenting it as if they've become an employee. And what I mean by that is, when you come on as an associate and you've got either the lead VA or an account manager like Kirsty that needs to have updates, they need to understand where you are with your work, they expect responses, and you don't like that because you're like, what? Hang on a minute, I don't work Thursdays, or I don't do this. That doesn't work. Like, you have to know that if you're going to become an associate, you are going to have to be responsive. You are going to have to, you're still working for yourself, but you can't just be all chilled and laid back like, well, it's up to me, I'll run my own business. You can't, because we've just had this recently, and you know, we took on a brand new associate and it didn't work for them in the end. And I believe the reason it didn't work for them is because they didn't expect that we'd be texting and saying, well, we don't text actually unless we have to. It's on the chat group. You know, can you give me an update on this client? We haven't heard anything. Then we've got a text. We haven't heard anything. Then we've got to call them. And it's essential and it's important. And that didn't work for them. So I think maybe we need to be more open about that going forward when we recruit people, and explain you are going to have these extra demands of being responsive with your times. But associates, if you're thinking about becoming an associate, you do need to be aware that you have to report back, because from my perspective, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on between that client and that associate.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think let's break it down a little bit, because there has been times in the past where we haven't had that. Like I say, when we first started, it was like, here's the client, let me know if you've got any problems. And that was it. And that's how we ended up having problems, which is why we upped our communication between account managers and associates. And it isn't by any stretch of imagination to big brother you or check up on you or anything like that. But in a situation like we've had recently, that person was unresponsive for days. And it amounted that the client then came directly to you, right? Skipped me, which is fine, not a problem. Don't have a problem with that. But from that client's point of view, they hadn't had an update. They don't even know the VA. Moose. They didn't even know. They had no communication whatsoever for over a week. And that then sets off you coming to me and saying, what's going on with this client? I don't know. I've not heard from the VA. Right, can you message them? Nothing. And in those steps, it's then the pressure's on me to find out what on earth has gone on. Has something happened to them? Are they okay? Like, you know, and that's my job. That's your job to tell me to do my job, right? It's not, I'm not picking on anybody. I'm not there to bully anybody. I'm there to help you. And that eventually ended up with me picking up that phone, which I don't do very often to VAs unless I can't get hold of them. Pure, from their side and from my side, being involved as much as I am with the business. And I think you're right. I think some associates will go, oh, again. But all it takes, my best advice, if you are an associate or looking at becoming an associate, you don't have to give War and Peace. Beginning of the week, to your account manager or your agency owner, whatever it is, hiya, I'm working on this client this week. I'll check in with you at the end of the week. Any
Yeah.
problems, we'll let you know. That's it. Any
Mm.
problems you've got, for God's sake, please don't sit on those problems, because all it
Mm.
will do is spiral
Mm.
into that agency owner losing that client,
Yeah,
which in turn will then make you become not an associate anymore. It is
exactly.
so important to communicate all the time, over communicate. And this is the thing that I say, I'm not there to watch your every move. I'm there to help you. And if I'm not doing my job in helping you, this ain't going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone's listening and they are an associate, thinking about becoming an associate, or thinking about developing into an agency, let us know your thoughts or any questions you've got in the comments. But what Kirsty just said is right. So part of what we say is, this is a safe space. Like, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you're stuck on something, then just, it's okay. We're not going to go. We are not the kind of agency that's going to say you're done, right? We've the complete opposite to that. The complete opposite. Look, Kirsty will sit and spend freaking hours with you training you on something. So we just like implemented a new time system. And one of the new VAs, it was clear from our end, because we're doing our checks in the background, didn't know how to use it, but was telling us, yeah, absolutely know how to use that. And you're like, why are you wasting our time? Just say you don't know how to use it. Let us support you.
This is the thing. And this is why I always say to people, I don't care if you ask me 100 times, I'll do you videos, I'll write it down. I don't care. I'm not bothered about that. And the checks we were doing were not on the time they were doing. It was to check that the system was working properly from our side. So we make sure we pay everybody correctly. And it was so obvious. And even like this morning, we've looked and gone, well, they said they've worked on that client, but nothing's been timed. So what? And that creates work for me, which means I come to you and I go, we've got a problem here, which means our day goes to pot, because we plan our days and that kind of, which is fine. But be honest. There's no shame in being honest. If you don't know, just say,
Yeah.
I don't know everything. I've learned everything just from doing it and being taught and videos and all that. It's fine to not know.
It is fine to not know. And I literally gave a talk this week at a bloody AI summit. Who'd have ever thought years ago I'd be standing up in front of a room of people talking about technology, right? Because I didn't have a clue when I started, but I'm self-taught. And so I fully embrace, like, we've got VAs on the team that don't know everything about everything. And I say, but I think they've got potential to you, don't I? I think we should, give them a client where they could practice and learn. There's nothing you can't learn on YouTube. Nothing.
No, this is the thing, is it? And there has been times when, because invariably at the moment I'm working at the weekend, and I don't put in the chat at the weekend because I don't want to disturb anybody, even if they're working or not. But I can just go onto my chat GPT or YouTube and go, I always say to my chat GPT, speak to me like I'm a complete idiot, like I'm 5 years old, I have no idea. And it will give me a step by step. And I just take my time. I do it step by step, and that's something I've learned. So I wouldn't necessarily need to keep on going back to that, because I've taught myself. But
Yeah.
but I just really want to emphasize, it's okay not to understand something, right? You're not going to be a genius in every single area or every single system, because that's just don't go, I'm a VA and I know everything. I'm a VA for 5 years. I ain't got a website. I don't even know where to start building a website. Someone said to me, "Can you build me a website?" I went, "No, I can't."
That's because you shouldn't be doing it yourself. I think to wrap up, my parting advice would be, if you are considering developing yourself into an agency, have a really robust plan and know your numbers, because the profit margins are tight. They are practically, I'm going to say, invisible. You either have to up your rates, or you have to hit a certain number of clients before you make any money. And the golden numbers around 30 odd clients before you start making a profit. So all these people that think you're making this clear cut profit, oh, she charges the client £30 an hour, she pays me 15, and so she gets 15, is not true, because there are costs in acquiring the client. The best thing you can do is add up all your expenses and divide that by the amount of clients. You start to see how much it's costing you. And so that's why you really only start making any money when you dilute those costs down across more clients, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So be clear on your numbers before you start putting out associate work. And we saw a post not long ago from someone saying, I'm thinking about giving this work to an associate. I'm charging 45, I'll be paying them 25, so I'll get the 15, right? I think it was something like that. And I was like, that's not what you'll get. You will get less than that. And you have to be really clear about that.
Yeah.
So first of all, be clear about your costs, the amount it's going to cost you to acquire a client, the marketing that's involved, all of that, the time. I mean, I don't really factor in, I suppose, much of your time into it, Kirsty, that I pay Kirsty for looking after things. Think about the fact that you still need to be really tangible. They need to be able to reach out to you, approach you, but also have somebody else there that you could start shaping up as an account manager. Because if you're going to keep expanding, you're going to need that.
Yeah.
Definitely make room for everybody with all skill sets. So if that means diversifying your packages, so you've got packages for admin, packages for marketing, packages for tech, like we have, rather than just bundles of time, or making sure your VA knows that there are opportunities for everyone, so you're not going to get people saying they can do things they can't do, and having a really good vetting process. So like when you join our CRM system for virtual assistants, More Than a VA, if you go into morethanava.org/CRM, you get that. We give you the whole onboarding for the whole vetting process for associates, and it has to be robust, it has to be stringent, and have something where they are in your kind of ecosystem. So you're not just going, right, off you go, see you with the client. You need that kind of visibility where you've got a touch point, you can get hold of them quickly. So that's why we give them an email address. That's why we include them, in our CRM with their own calendars. So it's making sure you're building up a loyal team whilst fully respecting they run their own businesses too, and communicating really effectively so that they understand that you're going to need things that, like, check-ins, that you've got to lay that out from the beginning. And just that would be my advice for starting, exploring working with associates. You can't be frightened that they're going to steal clients. It can't be the thing to hold you back. It might happen, it might not, but you still have to do it anyway. And also, if you're thinking about becoming an associate, be honest about your skill set. Do not lie or embellish, because if you get found out, the trust is broken and that person will not take you on. And more to the point, let's say they know someone else who's thinking about taking you on, they might very well say, oh no, I wouldn't do that. Be honest, as I say, about your skill sets or your lack of skills that you want to learn. If you get offered a job that you're not sure about, just be honest about it. Doesn't mean it's going to be taken away from you. Be proactive, be good at communication. Respect the fact that associate, that a VA agency is going to need more of you than you would be willing to give if you were just working solely with a client. That would be my advice. What would your advice be?
I think as well, from an agency point of view, taking on associates, don't introduce that associate until the client signed up, because that's one thing we used to do as well. We used to introduce them before they even had an email address. We used to use the VA, the associate's private email address or business email address. So always make sure the client signed up, that VA has got or associate has got their own email address. But please, just to reiterate, because lying and saying you can't do something or you don't want to do something and then not do it causes so many repercussions. Just be straight and honest. If anyone's wants any advice or anything like that, please get in touch with us, because we're always happy to answer your questions.
Yeah, definitely. I hope that's been helpful. If you do think about anything, just reach out, like Kirsty said. You can find us at morethanava.org, More Than a VA on Instagram, and I am More Than a VA on Facebook. And of course, we've got loads of podcast episodes that you can go back and listen to. Just search for the VA Live Lounge. But please follow, subscribe, because we really want to push a VA podcast to the top of our industry charts. And next week we'll be back to talk about why local networking still works in a digital industry. So hopefully you'll come along and join us then. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry we were late, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.